Hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about how to resolve the Insights action item CPU limits should be set. We can see on the right side here that we have the Insights user interface and it shows an action item that CPU limits should be set. I've clicked on this action item and now I see a bunch of metadata information, a description of the action item, as well as some links to documentation and some remediation instructions, which includes a code snippet. So we're going to walk through this real quick. We see here that I have a stateful set. It's called Argo CD Redis HA server and a container name Redis, and the CPU limits are not set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the code that created this object in Kubernetes. So anytime you have an object, it should have some YAML associated with it somewhere that deployed that object. And so in my case, I have a directory on the left over here that has a whole bunch of YAML files in it. And if we look at the stateful set Argo CD Redis HA server, we can take a look at the containers in this particular stateful set. And we scroll down here, we see containers. It's a list. The first container in here is named Redis. That's the one that our action item is referencing. So we look a little bit further, we see that there's no resources defined whatsoever for this container. So we can scroll down again in the action item description and we see that we have some recommended YAML here. And so I'm going to go to the name Redis and I'm going to add a resources block and I'm going to add a limits block, and underneath that I'm going to say CPU and I'm going to give it a value. We can start with 500 millicores, we can start with 100 millicores, but the next thing I'm going to do is actually take a look at how much CPU this particular workload is already using. So I'm going to kubectl top pods in the Argo CD namespace and I'm going to look for Redis HA server. And if we run that command and wait just a second, we will see that the Argo CD Redis HA server is currently using less than 10 millicores. So I probably don't need to set my limit at 500 millicores, but just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and set it to 100 millicores. And over time, I'm going to keep an eye on those resources and then maybe look at my Prometheus metrics report in Insights and see if that's a reasonable default to set. So again, today we have resolved the action item CPU limit should be set by setting a CPU limit on the container referenced in this action item. Thanks for listening.